I'm Dr. Anu Marielias. I'm here to teach you about solid waste management and landfill. So in the last class we had studied about what are the different sources and types of solid waste generated. So today we will be studying about the composition of solid waste. So the nature of municipal solid waste. First you have to study what is the nature. So there will be combustible, non-combustible, putrescible. Putrescible means it can decay, the decaying type of waste. Okay, so it can be a dead bodies like cat, dog or anything. So and next is the recyclable one, then hazardous and infectious. Solid waste composition. So here you can see the different percentage of each solid waste. The food kitchen waste is generating 38.1 percentage of waste, and you can see that the metal is 7.1 percentage and the plastic is 2.9 percentage. So the highest one and lowest one is given in this solid waste composition. So the composition of solid waste, it will vary based on the percentage distribution values of the components in the municipal solid waste. We will come to know what are the different things will vary the composition of solid waste. First is based on the location. If it is a rural area, if it is like a city or rural area means the waste generated will be very less. But if it comes to a city, if it is a city means more waste will be generated in such cases. And based on the season, the composition of solid waste will vary. Season means, what is the season? If it is a winter season or rainy season, based on the rainy season, more water content will be there in the waste. So the composition of waste will vary. If it is a dry season, accordingly it will vary. If it is a spring season, more leaves will fall down and the street waste will be increased. Then economic conditions. Economic condition means based on the amount or economy people are having. If more amount is economy wise, if more high people are there and low people are also there. For high people, they will be purchasing so many packet foods, they will be throwing that packet in the waste bin. So in the case of economy wise, if it is low, those people will reduce purchasing of such kinds of thing and waste generated will be reduced in that case. Then based on the population, as I already told, in cities more population will be there. So based on that, waste generated will be more. In India, it's a developing country, so more population is there in India compared to US. So what will happen? More waste will be generated by each and every person. So waste will be generated more in India than in US. Next is social behavior. Social behavior means how the people are behaving. Some people, they will throw the waste to the roadsides. In beaches, when they go, they take some juices or something and they will throw the cans into the beach sides. So that is their behavior based on that. But some people, they will keep that in dustbin. So based on the social behavior, waste generated will vary. Then next is the climate. Based on the climate also, the waste generated will be varied. As I told, it is a spring season, rainy season, etc. Then market for waste material. How the market, that is whether if we recycle and reuse it, whether people are purchasing it. So based on that, the waste material will vary. So the composition of solid waste means it is a term used to describe the individual components that make up a solid waste stream and their relative distribution. So it makes up on a solid waste stream and their relative distribution. So here you can see that the residential and commercial portion makes up about 50 to 75% of the total municipal solid waste. So the actual percentage distribution will depend on the extent of construction and demolition activity and the extent on the municipal services and also the treatment plant what we are having. If in the treatment plant more waste are treated and the sludge generated, if they are drying and keeping to make it as a fuel means the waste generated will be reduced. So based on this percentage distribution, it will vary. So the typical physical composition of residential municipal solid waste. Here you can see the organic, inorganic, everything is mentioned in the table, and you can see the different types of waste here and how much is the moisture content generated. So here you can see in the case of organic, more moisture content is there for food waste, but into the inorganic thing you can see dirt, ash is having the more moisture content. Coming to the properties of solid waste. What are the properties of solid waste? This is very important part, that is in this physical properties, chemical properties and biological properties are there. Coming to the physical properties of solid waste, what are the properties coming in physical form? So that is specific weight, that is density, moisture content, particle size and distribution, field capacity, permeability of compacted waste. So we will be studying each and every physical property in depth in the coming slides. Also we will be studying about the chemical and biological properties. Specific weight. What does mean by specific weight? You all know what is specific weight. So it is defined as the weight of a material per unit volume. Weight of a material, it can be denoted in kilogram, and per unit volume is per meter cube. So it varies based on the compaction. If it is an uncompacted waste, the density will vary. If it is a compacted waste, again it will vary. You can see that in the table here. In the second table, the condition and density is mentioned. If it is a loose or no compaction is done, is a loose solid waste, municipal solid waste, 90 to 150 is the density. But when it comes to the compacted waste, the last one, municipal solid waste in a compacted landfill, you can see that 440 to 740 is the density. So based on the compaction, the density will be varied. And other than that, you can see in the first table the different components of waste. In that you can see the specific weight. The specific weight is more for the food waste, because moisture content also will be there. So the specific weight is more in the case of food waste, and the least is for the plastic waste. Coming to the moisture content, this is the second physical property. Moisture content means how much is the percentage of wet weight is there in the municipal solid waste. Here there are different types are mentioned here, sources also mentioned there, and from that sources what are the type of waste generated. In that you can see in the residential more wet waste is in the case of food waste. In the commercial also more wet waste comes from food waste. Construction, demolition also given there, industry also given, agriculture also given. In the case of industry, you can see in the case of sludge. So wet sludge is having more moisture content. In the case of agriculture, the manure, that is the wet manure is having more the moisture content. Particle size distribution. So if it is a waste generated, we have to split it into the different particle size. There will be big plastics will be there in the case of plastic. It can be microplastics, it can be nanoplastics. So based on that, the plastic has to be separated. So plastic, I am telling it as an example. So like that, different waste will be generated and the particle size distribution also will be varied. So for this, how we will separate the waste? We can do the screening process and we can separate the waste, or else we can use the magnetic separators also. So there is a formula is there to find the size of the waste component. SC is equal to L plus W plus H divided by 3. SC means the size of the component, and LWH denotes the length, width and height of the waste in millimeter. Next physical property is the field capacity. So you can see in the solid waste, if it is a dry waste, there will be voids will be present. It can be air voids. In that air sacs or air voids, if rain comes, the water will get accumulated. So there will be a limit for that particular waste to accumulate the water. That is, there will be saturation stage. Till that saturation stage, there will not be any leachate will be generated. After the saturation state, the water will come out and leachate will be generated in such cases. So this is known as the field capacity of that solid waste. Field capacity means the total amount of moisture retained in the waste sample. As I told, there will be air voids will be there. So how much is the moisture content? The total moisture content retained in the waste sample, and it will be subjected to the downward pull of gravity. So there will be a gravity pull will be there. If it is saturated, if it is completely saturated, fully saturated means leachate will be generated from there. So we have to, in this case, in the field capacity, the important part is we have to determine the formation of leachate in the landfill. And in the case of mixed waste from residential and commercial, I told it is a heterogeneous waste. In that case, the field capacity varies. It will be in the range of 50 to 60%. Next is chemical properties. Coming to the chemical properties, chemical property of municipal solid waste, we have three important things to evaluate. That is, one is proximate analysis, second is fusing point of ash, third is the ultimate analysis. So in the case of proximate analysis, we will do some test. One is moisture. So you know that how you will use moisture, find the moisture. We will dry the waste at 105 degrees Celsius for 1 hour. And second is volatile combustible matter. We will ignite it at 950 degrees Celsius in the absence of oxygen. Next is fixed carbon. So what is the residue generated from the combustible matter, from the volatile combustible matter? That is called as the fixed carbon. And ash means in the open air. The volatile combustible one is in the absence of oxygen. In the case of ash, in the open air or open crucible, we are combusting. In the presence of oxygen, we are combusting. So what is the waste generated from that is called as the ash. Next is the fusing point. So what does mean by fusing point? So we will burn the waste, like we will make the waste into a solid form, like a clinker form, and that waste will be burned at a particular temperature. So first we will make the waste into a clinker form, and the clinker form can be made using made by fusion and agglomeration, and this clinker can be burned at a particular temperature. So that is known as the fusing point of ash. So the fusing temperature will be 1100 to 1200 degrees Celsius. The third one is the ultimate analysis. In the ultimate analysis, we will be determining the percentage of various elements like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and ash. So we should also determine the halogens content in the ultimate analysis. Why we have to do this is we have to characterize the chemical composition in the solid waste. Based on the chemical composition only, we can decide how we have to treat the waste, or how we have to dispose the waste, or whether we can recycle and reuse the waste or not. Other than that, the carbon by nitrogen ratio will help to understand whether biological conversion process can be done in such type of waste. Next is the energy content. Energy content means the waste, for example the sludge what we are generating in the treatment plant. That sludge, there will be water content. We have to go for a press filter or some other process, and we have to treat the sludge, and we have to remove the complete water, that is sludge dewatering has to be done. And the waste that is generated from the sludge, we have to dry it and we have to make it in the form of a pellet. So that pellet we can use as a fuel. How we will find whether it can be used as a fuel is we will go for a calorific value. We will first find the calorific value. For example, it can be done in the rice husk, coconut husk, rice straw, etc. So by using a full scale boiler as calorimeter or laboratory bomb calorie we can use, and from that calorific value we will find if the calorific value will be getting in kilojoule per kilogram. So if it is a 3000 kilojoule per kilogram, that material can be used as for a fuel. The third property is the biological property. So in this property, what we are identify is whether the waste material is having sugar, starch, amino acid, etc. So if there is cellulose, if there is lignin content, if there is a cellulose content or amino acid, how we will treat the waste will vary based on the biological properties. So these are some of the biological content like sugar, starch, cellulose, fats, lignin, proteins, etc. So this is what we will identify in the biological property. So if the biological characteristics of the waste is containing almost all organic component, means we can convert that biologically we can convert that waste to gases. That is first thing. And if it is a putrescible nature, if the waste is having a putrescible nature, means decaying type, there will be more production of odors and generation of flies will be there. So we have to dispose the waste in such a manner. And the other thing is, if it is a newsprint or if it is having more lignin content, means it will be highly volatile but low in biodegradability. So such kind of disposal or treatment method has to be followed. And the fourth point is, if the waste is having slowly decomposable material or rapidly decomposable or slowly decomposable, so those things we have to cross check based on the organic waste component in the municipal solid waste, and such type of treatment or disposal method has to be followed. So I hope you all understood about the composition of waste and what are the different properties of waste. So here are some self-learning questions. First is, when the organic matter present in the sanitary landfill decomposes, it generates what it generates? It generates the methane, nitrogen, hydrogen, all the above. So it will only generate the methane gas. Second one is, which of the following is done on an individual level? Burning, disposal, recycling, source reduction. You have to do the source reduction because individual person has to reduce the waste, then only the pollution can be reduced in our ecosystem. Third is, why is it difficult to recycle plastics? Because it is very hard? No, that's not the answer. It becomes in different size? No. It is adhesive? No. It contains different types of polymer resin, because there is polyethylene, polypropylene, etc. So there are different type of polyresins are there. That is the difficulty to recycle the plastics. So I hope you all understood today's class about the composition, properties of solid waste, etc. We will meet up in the next class. Thank you everyone.